Good morning. I miss you. I really miss seeing you in person. I miss talking to you in person. I do know that we will be together again. I just don't know when. Many of you have asked when. When is it that we will be able to gather in the sanctuary again? The short answer is I do not know. We, United Church of Christ, and the Maine CDC will recommend what is best. And then our executive committee will meet and we will share what we have learned with you all. I will try very hard to keep you up to date with what is happening. What I know is that is most important is your health and well-being. Although we want to be together and we are tired of not being together in a traditional way, we all want to make sure that everyone is safe. When we do go back, we will have protocols to make sure that we do our best to keep you all safe. I'd like to begin with some prayers that are needed for our community and the wider world. And first and foremost, as many of you know, that Laura Burchell's mother passed away this past week. So prayers of comfort and peace go out to Laura and Dave Burchell and family as they grieve the passing of her dear mother. May they be surrounded by God's grace through this time. Prayers for the essential workers, and there are so many. And here's the thing, there are many in our community that are working whether they want to or not. They have to work, or they feel called to work. Healthcare workers, those that are in essential businesses that keep our country going. We have so many different workers that help us to make sure that we have food and deliveries and mail and physical therapy and blood banks and nurses and doctors. May we continue to pray for their safety and with much gratitude lift them up to God. I'd also like to pray for the homeless, those that are home insecure, food insecure, and the thousands just here in Maine that are job insecure. It is an unprecedented time, and with that comes a lot of grief and anxiety. So let us lift them all up and continue not just today, but each and every day until we are back together in our beautiful sanctuary. Our scripture today is Luke chapter 24, verses 13 through 35, and I hope that you were able to watch it or read it beforehand. It is the road to Emmaus, the long, long road, 7 miles. Cleopas and the unknown and unnamed person that walked with him on their journey back home. They had made the trek, a yearly trek, to their Passover, a pilgrimage that was sacred to them. The women told them what had happened. And as they walk home, they are talking about the horrors that had happened. Their holy city had become a city of horrors. Their hearts heavy, heavier than anything that they could have carried for materials on their back for this pilgrimage. It must have been a difficult time. I cannot imagine. What I can imagine is being blinded by the fog, being blinded by grief that you cannot see what is right in front of you. We do not know why they didn't recognize Jesus. And if it was being blinded by the grief and fog of what had transpired, or was it God that had done that? We don't know what veil had been put over them, but what we do know is they were walking and talking about what had transpired. And Jesus was walking right along with them. How often in your life do you have a heavy heart, that you have gone through something that you feel no one else in this world would understand? With a heavy heart, are you blinded by recognizing Jesus walking right beside you? I know that I think that it's probably for most of us. It's hard to get away from our own thoughts and our own selves, to open up our hearts and our minds to what God is trying to say to us and show us. And it wasn't until they actually sat down, which I think is a beautiful thing. They broke bread together. And it was in that moment that the veil was lifted and they were able to see that it was the risen Christ sitting right next to them all along. How often has that happened to us? It's something that I contemplate on a regular basis. And I hope and pray that you are able to feel God's presence during this time. If you are walking a long road and there is a veil over your suffering, may you know that God is standing beside you. You're probably wondering why I have this dollhouse right next to me. Well, this is Waverly's dollhouse. But the story that goes with this is pretty amazing. My mother, as most of you know, passed away right before I began at North Windham Union Church. And it was either the first or second week that I was there that one of you, and I don't remember who, walked in with a kit to build a dollhouse. And the story went hysterically that there were two kits bought originally. They had bought two kits and had intended in making two of these houses. But after making one of them, they were done. And so they donated this kit. Well, I saw it as immediately a chance for my father to do something, to maybe be able to build back a little bit of the life that he was mourning. He was mourning the death of his wife, and in it there was a deep fog, and he admits that fog. It was a hard time. They had only ever known each other for so very long that to live alone for the first time since living with his parents was quite an adjustment. I gave him the kit, and that was in the spring, and he didn't open it. Maybe the fog hadn't lifted yet enough so that he could, in fact, begin to build back his life. His life was not going to be the same, and we know that. But it was going to get better. It was in September that he finally opened the box, and he opened it on the kitchen table, which, by the way, there is no way that my mother would have allowed that. I had no idea what I had bought. And when he called me after he took all the pieces out of the box, he said, "Debbie, do you have any idea how many thousands and thousands of pieces there are here? This is going to take me forever to build." And he began. And he began piece by piece to build it. And it took months. It took, in fact, until right before Christmas. And Waverly received it that Christmas. And did she ever squeal with delight? But as you can see, each of the little pieces are part of his journey. Each square, each little tile, each piece of floor, molding, rooms, levels, stairs, every single piece of this house was part of his journey. His journey through that long, long journey of grief. Each piece represents a piece of him building back part of him by the grace of God. And what transpired became part of him. Each time Waverly visits here, which it has been a month and a half, she plays with it and loves it. It gives my father much delight to know that all of the hard work and a lot of grumbling went into it. And that's our life, isn't it? This too shall pass? Maybe. What I do know is what we are going through, what we are suffering through, the grief and the loss of our independence or our ability to be able to go out and not have fear and anxiety is going to be part of us for a while. And we will build back level by level, piece by piece, our journey until we are able to sit with Christ at the table and break bread. Before that time, I pray that you are able to lift the veil, that you are able to see how precious that you are in God's eyes. As we begin to build back our own selves of coming from this trauma, may we remember those on the road to Emmaus and the trauma that they had is nothing. We cannot compare, is what I'm saying. It is beyond what we can imagine, what they experienced. But they had the glory of God with them during this trauma. So we have it. The light will shine upon us. May the light of Christ be with you each